Does America like Formula One? Well, you should be here. This place is absolutely awesome. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Fantastic in terms of its scale, its size, its facilities, its history and its charisma. Look, there is the super speedway with its 4 turns. Average speeds of about 220 miles an hour around there for the well-famous Indianapolis 500. A lot less than that for Formula One. You can see the circuit built inside the super speedway. Their lengths are approximately the same. And there is a mammoth crowd here. They're reckoning on 200,000, just about twice as much as any other Grand Prix in the world. They've been pouring in all morning. The conditions are absolutely superb. Sunshine, blue skies, track temperature, 26 degrees, good for the Michelins. But Mika Hakkinen, as you've heard briefly from Martin, and I'll get him to expand on it in a moment, is a very unhappy man. He qualified second. He's starting fourth because of that transgression going out earlier this morning. Up go Michael's brother, Ralf Schumacher, to second on the grid, and Juan Pablo Montoya to third. And Mika Hakkinen will have the red mist down when those lights go out.
He's very angry. He said to me this morning, that's why I'm leaving this sport. I'm fed up with this kind of thing. I mean, it was a knee-jerk reaction. It's a retrospective moving of his position on the grid from obviously jumping that red light this morning. He couldn't see the red light because they were 2 abreast in the pit lane. No doubt about it, he did go through it. And of course, going onto the racetrack when the track is closed is a very serious situation. Normally, though, we would expect in the paddock that to have resulted in a fine of some sort. But Hakkinen then, an angry man. Will he turn that into frustration and a first corner incident, or one of his brilliant races? We'll have to wait and see. But remember yesterday, Murray, when you mistakenly for a few seconds called 2 Schumachers on the front row? Well, you were right. You're a prophetic man.
I was right all the time, wasn't I? Yes. So now we've got the prospect of Michael, 4 times world champion in the Ferrari on Bridgestone tyres, using the hard compound, and that could be very significant. Brother Ralf promoted up to G2, the second position on the grid, on Michelin tyres, and that could be very significant too. Now, is Michael Schumacher going to defer to Rubens Barrichello if he is able to, in order to improve his Brazilian teammates' chances in the World Championship? He's currently just 3 points behind David Coulthard, who is starting down in 7th place. Very, very poor for David Coulthard. So the McLarens are starting 4th and 7th. But when the lights go out, I advise you to just keep a general eye on the grid, because I'm expecting the Benettons, and Jenson Button is starting higher than he started before since he joined the Benetton team. He's 10th on the grid, and Fisichella to blast through because their launch control system is superb. Jos Verstappen, maybe 20th on the grid, but this morning he was extremely fast in the warm-up. He's got a very light fuel load. I'm expecting him to come up. And I would say the same thing about the Jaguars too. They may be down 14th and 16th, but I'm expecting them to stop twice in this race. Most people will stop once, in which case, with the Jaguars and a light fuel load, we could see anything. But mercifully, I hope, Martin, will get everybody round this first corner first, because there's quite a long drag down to it. There's a good escape road. It's fairly wide, and they should all get round safely.
Yes, and the interesting thing is Jenson Button, of course, in his best grid position of the year in 10th. Now, the previous 2 Grand Prix, we've seen both Benettons gain at least 1 and usually 2 rows of the grid. This fabulous new traction control system, start launch control that they have, so it'll be interesting to watch the Benettons. But it's very wide down into turn 1, plenty of lines you can go in, but at the end of the day, just one sweet racing line when you finally get into the corner.
And the engines scream, 18,000 RPM from each of those V10 motors. Down to turn 1. This is the magnificent Indianapolis circuit you see. They go round the opposite way in Formula One, and this is turn 1. And turn 2 is the left-hander. They take that at about 70 miles an hour. Everybody's got away well for the parade lap, the formation lap. Alex Young, the young new Malaysian driver, starting for his second Grand Prix, gets away last, as he should have done in the Minardi, and the skyline of Indianapolis benevolently looks over the circuit. It's only about 5 miles away. Drove in about 15 minutes this morning, and the cars continue to make their way round the circuit, and there is the McLaren with the Ferrari behind it, and Michael Schumacher leading away, and it is his 42nd pole position in his career, his 10th pole position this year. I talked to him for a long time last night. He is in extremely good form. Rubens Barrichello in the second Ferrari there is starting 5th on the grid. Juan Pablo Montoya, that we're with now, had an engine blow up in the warm-up this morning, but he still got in the spare car, no problems, and he was 5th fastest.
Smart cookie Montoya's got the traction control switched off for a moment so he can really light up those rear tyres in a hope of having more temperature when he gets to the start line. That's the best way. Pump 850 horsepower through those two relatively skinny 4-groove rear tyres, and they just flare up in temperature. Look, Michael Schumacher, you're not actually supposed to do that. That is the equivalent of a practice start. You mustn't really do that, but you can squirt it as you're cruising along if you want.
So, out of turn 2 of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, down the straight, and they'll be doing some 205 miles an hour as they approach turn 1 at the end of the first lap. John Todd, the Ferrari team manager, walking to his position on the gantry, and it's just a matter of seconds now before the 73-lap American Grand Prix starts. The World Championship has been decided, but it hasn't been decided for second place in the Drivers' Championship or second place in the Constructors' Championship. They come round in one line, they peel off to the right, those of them who are starting from that side of the grid, and that includes, of course, Ralf Schumacher, starting from the right, the left as you look at it.
They peel off to the right late to keep their tyres as clean as possible because it's dirty on that inside line, and now then they're ready for the start procedure.
Michael Schumacher on the right, Ralf Schumacher on the left. Behind Michael Schumacher is Montoya. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Go, go, go! And they've all got away well. Now there's one left right at the back. Is it Young or is it Thomas Enger? But meantime, Schumacher leads. Michael Schumacher, that is. And the Williams right up alongside him is that of Montoya. Montoya has come through from 3rd on the grid. He's got ahead of Ralf Schumacher. And Ralf Schumacher is 4th. Barrichello has made a superlative start. He's up from 5th on the grid into 3rd place. Ferrari leads, Williams 2nd, Ferrari 3rd. Ralf Schumacher is in 4th position. Then it's the 2 McLarens. Alex Young brings up the rear.
Yes, as Thomas Enger failed to get away, but he is now into the race. So all 22 cars away, albeit one of them somewhat delayed. Michael Schumacher then leads Montoya, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Hakkinen and Coulthard. The 2 McLarens line astern for 5th and 6th.
Into the left-hander at turn 10. Now this is where they start to attack the banked part of the circuit after turn 11. 80 miles an hour out of this, and now the speed builds. 155 miles an hour, 190 miles an hour, 205 miles an hour. And Michael Schumacher leads, Ralf leads, Barrichello leads Ralf Schumacher 4th and Montoya in 2nd place.
And not a great start for the Benettons. They're 10th and 11th. Fisichella Button slipped a little bit, and Jolin Lacey was the man who had the worst start, and we've got a touch there.
Yeah, and a wing broken, and that is Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi Räikkönen's front wing has been broken as he was sandwiched between Nick Heidfeld, his teammate, and Jolin Lacey driving in his 200th Grand Prix.
I think it was Trulli. I think they were getting caught up. Trulli had a decent start. Look, a Lacey very slow away of the 2 yellow cars. A clear run for Michael, but Montoya then in the BMW. Williams managing to get right alongside. Michael having none of it. Takes the line, pushes him wide, and a bit of squabbling in the midfield, but no major drama at that time. But at the end of the first lap, we will see that truly was getting involved in a fight. But this is the picture from Montoya, just over his left shoulder, of course. And look, picked up a beautiful slipstream from the Ferrari, but nowhere to go when he arrived. And you've got to be on the inside there. Michael giving him no slack whatsoever.
Nobody was clean. Michael Schumacher's been criticised for cutting across other drivers at the start of the race. That was fair enough. And look at the lead he's building now. He's on his second lap. It was 1/10 of a second.
Barrichello perfectly placed. Can he use this slipstream? Montoya goes to cover the inside line. Barrichello braking later and managing to make it stick. Easy for Barrichello then.
Right, now let's, right at the beginning of the race, remember that Ferrari have actually got a disadvantage, they thought, some people, at the start here. They're on the harder compound Bridgestone tyre. It may not grip the circuit so well, but it won't degrade, it'll last better.
Kimi Räikkönen then, we saw he touched with Jarno Trulli, and he is stopped for a new nose, and he will join in last place.
And already we're on lap 3. Ferrari leads, Ferrari second. Schumacher leads, Rubens Barrichello is second. Down to third goes Montoya. Right behind him is Ralf Schumacher. Mika Häkkinen, who started fourth, is down to fifth. David Coulthard, who started seventh, is up to sixth. In seventh is Heidfeld, who started sixth. And Jarno Trulli is in 8th position in the Jordan. And you can see the battle now between the two Williams BMWs, Montoya and Schumacher, with Mika Häkkinen and Coulthard behind them.
Out of our view, but Jenson Button has passed Fisichella, with Räikkönen pitting. Button up to 9, Eddie Irvine 11.
And just look at this for sheer raw speed. It is terrific. 820, 30 horsepower blasting through those rear wheels. They have to come down to 75 miles an hour. Third gear corner for turn 1. And it is line abreast now. 4.7 seconds covers the top 6.
Barrichello 4/10 faster than Michael Schumacher on the previous lap. There it is, a new fastest lap of the race, but that's not a lap record at this stage. A car on the outside travelling slowly. We didn't see who it was, and it is a Sauber. Presumably that's Räikkönen, who's back onto the track. We saw his car smoking a little bit as he left the pits. Thought it was tyre smoke, but maybe then Räikkönen got out some other. Yes, he has, look. Räikkönen with some technical problems. We don't know what. Of course, creeping back to the pits.
And here's a flash of intelligence. We believe that the Ferraris have got a two-stop strategy. We believe, we could be wrong, but it makes sense. Look at the way that Rubens Barrichello has come up, presumably with a lighter fuel load. And if that is the case, they've got to build a lead now over the two Williams BMWs of Juan Pablo Montoya, who is third, and Ralf Schumacher, who's in 4th position.
Montoya had a very slow lap, a 1:17.6, nearly 2 seconds off the pace last time around, and that's why he's suddenly under pressure from Ralf. Häkkinen in close company. Yellow flag, stationary yellow flag I can see in the background, and we think it's an oil flag, so some debris or something slippery on the racetrack. Montoya is struggling.
Yeah, Ralf Schumacher is pushing. He's in 4th position, and Mika Häkkinen is just behind them. There's the McLaren, and behind the McLaren it's David Coulthard. So is Montoya holding things up? You can see they're piling up behind him. In the meantime, the gap between the two flying Ferraris at the front and the Williams is increasing. It is now 3.6 seconds between Michael Schumacher and Montoya.
And Michael's going to let Barrichello pass. Barrichello has a car that's 0.4 of a second faster. So Michael clearly, easily lets him through. Michael will remember leading this race last year and spinning off in these very slow corners through lack of concentration. Still went on to win, of course, but Barrichello then with easily the fastest car on the racetrack, suggesting less fuel, of course.
Yeah, that could be one of two things. It could be either that Rubens Barrichello is on a two-stop strategy and Michael isn't, or it could mean that Michael, even this early in the race, is deferring to the Brazilian to let him through and hopefully from their point of view win this race, get 10 World Championship points, put himself ahead of David Coulthard, who is only on 1 World Championship point at the moment. Lap 6, 73 lap race.
And I think they're going to have to move Montoya out of the way soon as well. He is definitely holding up Ralf. It's enabling the McLarens to stay in touch, but Montoya well down in the 1:17s. Barrichello full second faster than anybody else, including passing Michael Schumacher up the inside into turn 8. Obviously he was let through, but then Barrichello scampering off into the distance. It's about 2.5 tenths of a second per lap for every 10 kilos of fuel you carry around here, so it would suggest Barrichello two-stopping.
And Kimi Raikkonen in the garage there has retired for the 6th time this year. They've just cleared turn 8 up to the hairpin at turn 9. A short dash, and then there's another hairpin turn 10. This is it. Up to about 80 miles an hour for the right-hander at turn 11. And then they get back onto the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the super speedway. They're on it now. Look at the width of the circuit, and look at the way they come right out to the side, almost glancing the wall, cut across, build up the speed. Here come the two Ferraris, and it is Rubens Barrichello in the lead with the fastest lap of the race, obviously. 1 minute 15.5, and that is about 0.8 of a second off last year's lap record put up by David Coulthard.
Yes, and when they've used up some of the current fuel load, of course, they will be lapping faster. But as I said, on the grid walk, they are all expecting tyre problems of some sort with blistering. They've come here this year with a much softer, much more competitive in terms of lap time tyre. They were so conservative last year, the tyre companies concerned about the banking, proved to be a non-issue, but this year maybe they've not been quite conservative enough, and a lot of these teams are really on their back foot protecting their rear tyres. James Allen.
Well, remember, Martin, that Ferrari selected the harder tyre for qualifying yesterday. They were aware that they wanted to try and use it as best they could. It didn't work for them in Imola, but it worked for them in qualifying yesterday. I think Rubens Barrichello definitely is on a two-stop strategy, a second a lap faster than the rest of the field. Entertainment is the name of the game here today, and Ferrari seem to be going out to provide it. So what are the figures here? Well, two stops, you need to be, it's about 12 seconds faster than one stop, but you need a 30-second lead in order to make the pit stop and rejoin back in front. Quick word on the Michelin tyres on the Williams guys. My information is that they started with tyres that had done over 18 laps already. Clearly very worried about the wear situation.
Now look, there is the third and fourth, followed by the rest. Montoya is not letting Schumacher past if the German is trying to do so. Hackinen's right behind him, then it's David Coulthard, Heidfeld and Button, and between those there is only about 3 seconds, so it's mighty close. The traffic needs to break.
Heidfeld keeping the two McLarens on us. He's got a point to prove, hasn't he? He's been bypassed for the McLaren drive for next year by Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen in the pits. He's had a dismal time since he signed for McLaren, as it happens for next year. But Heidfeld really been on it all weekend. Didn't get away from the start too well, and that put him behind Coulthard. But now he's managing to stay with them. I suspect those McLarens are quite fat on fuel. They'll come back into play later on in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the race develops. Last year, of course, the race actually started off in the wet. The track was wet, it wasn't actually raining, it was very misleading, and we had people coming in as early as lap 6. Rubens Barrichello came in on lap 6 to switch tyres. The crafty and experienced Michael Schumacher stayed out and reaped a tremendous benefit because he subsequently won the race by being able to do what Ayrton Senna had done so frequently in the past, keep out on what seemed to be the wrong tyre for the conditions and still not have his lap times suffer. Well, Nick Heidfeld is undoubtedly the man to watch at the moment. He's in 7th position, and there he is behind David Coulthard's McLaren. He is in the points. Both the McLarens are in the points. Both the Ferraris are, of course, on a potential 16 World Championship points for 1st and 2nd place. Both the Williams are in the points at 3rd and 4th. So it is dominated, as you would expect. Ferrari, Williams, McLaren and Heidfeld there with the red wing mirrors on the Sauber, followed now by Jenson Button, and there he is in 8th position. Jenson started 10th in the Benetton. He has worked his way up 2 places. He's 2 places ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella, his teammate.
Yes, out of picture again. Button then has put a move on Truly somewhere, so Jenson Button coming through the field very nicely. Isn't it great to see him back on form? This last 2 or 3 Grand Prix, he's really been looking like the Jenson Button we saw last year. Tripped over, of course, Truly, ironically, in the first corner at Monza with a bit of an over-ambitious move. But Button then heading for a decent Grand Prix at last.
And here is the 200 Grand Prix boy, Jean Alesi, as he goes through to complete lap 9 in the 72-lap race. Well, now, when you can, look at the stands in the backgrounds. A lot of them are absolutely jam-packed full. A lot of them are comparatively empty because Indianapolis is actually built for in excess of 400,000 spectators. There may be as many as 200,000 here today, but there's obviously a lot of excess seating capacity. And it's still a mammoth crowd. Whichever way you look at it, it's more than twice as much as any other Grand Prix this year. And things have settled down now. We're at lap 10, just about 1/7 distance in the race already. And the race itself we expect to last something like an hour and 36 minutes, but a bit less than that. Last year, of course, as I said earlier on, it was wet at the beginning. And Rubens Barrichello is now leading Michael Schumacher by a clear 5.2 seconds. He's put up another fast lap, half a second off last year's lap record, and just about the same time, plus a second as pole position time last year. So there is the 6th place McLaren of David Coulthard, or there it was, followed by Nick Heidfeld. But it's Ferrari all the way at the present moment. They've dominated the season, of course, in the Drivers' Championship and in the Constructors' Championship. And you watch the leader now from above go round turn 10, accelerate up to about 80 miles an hour for that right-hander that follows. Rubens Barrichello is coming through now to complete his 11th lap. Lap 12 now in the American Grand Prix, 11 laps completed. Joe Ramirez, who is retiring at the end of the year, sits there in the McLaren garage, impassively watching the television screen, not happily watching the television screen, because the top McLaren driver is only in 5th position, and it's double world champion Mika Häkkinen. There has been no change. David Coulthard, there he is, just going under the banner, followed by Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber in 2nd position. As we look at the 2 Williams ahead of him, we can't look at the Ferraris because Rubens Barrichello is 6 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and Montoya is another 3 seconds behind them. So we've heard James Allen saying that the leaders need something like a 30-second gap if they're on a 2-stop strategy, which we believe Rubens Barrichello is. It's not enough at the moment because Montoya in the leading Williams BMW on Michelin tyres is 9.5 seconds behind the leader. Don't know when he'll be coming in. That's the problem about one-stop strategies these days. It's very difficult to predict when the cars are going to come in because we don't know what fuel loads they've started off with.
That's for sure. Jenson Button's had a problem. He's now slipped quite a long way back from Jarno Trulli. We don't know why. That's a Lacey challenging both the Benettons. 11th place man Lacey. Fisichella on the end of his nose, picks up that extra surge, and later on the brakes, a really clean move. Well, he's done 200 of these. He should be good at that by now, Murray.
Yeah, and he's 37 years old, but there's news from James.
Yes, looking at the timing of these stops then, gentlemen. The one stop is we're looking about lap 40, I believe. But Rubens Barrichello on his 2-stop, he's going to come in on lap 28, which is in just 16 laps from now, and then he's going to have to come in again about lap 51. That's the target. And one other note for you, Jos Verstappen, the king of the Grand Prix starts, he has made up 7 places off the start line this race, and that means that in the 16 Grand Prix so far, it's a total of 80 places. 80 places he's made up so far, an amazing statistic.
So there is Jenson Button in the Benetton, followed by Fisichella. Now away with a Lacey, and Lacey has got Fisichella in front of him. So underneath the banner, into the right-hander, a terrific battle now between the 2 Benettons with their new Renault 111-degree V10 engine, and Jean Alesi in the Honda-powered Jordan, and Alesi's flying. He's not close enough yet.
Button's,
Prediction?
but he's got to get a little bit closer than that. But Button's really struggling with the handling. He's dropped off the pace. And Lacey, look at that. You can just feel it's like moving up another gear. And he will now easily outbrake Button. I think they're losing a lot of grip from the Michelins on the Benetton at the moment. Obviously working them too hard. And that was easy. I think Lacey then just pulling a rip-off the visor. Probably got a lot of oil on his visor, which may also give us an indication of why Button has started to slow down. Maybe he's got the beginnings of an engine gremlin.
Yeah, and that's happened in the past. This is still very much a development engine, and we're now back at the front of the American Grand Prix on lap 14 out of 73 as the Ferrari exits turn 13, builds into that long straight. And the leader, Rubens Barrichello, has now gone faster again. 1 minute 15.179, and that is 0.4 of a second off last year's lap record. And I remind you that he has still got plenty of fuel to burn off before he comes in. That's the Williams BMW of Montoya. He is in third place. Ralf Schumacher has dropped back a bit actually compared with Montoya that we're looking at, because the German in the Williams BMW is now about 1.5 seconds behind his teammate. There's been no change at the top 7. It's still Barrichello, Schumacher, Montoya, Ralf Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, David Coulthard and the gallant Nick Heidfeld. He doesn't have anything to prove. He's been a test driver for McLaren. He's driven for Prost. Now he's with Sauber. You heard there he is in the background with the red mirrors on his car in the wheel tracks of David Coulthard. Now, are the McLaren still fuel heavy, Martin? Do you think they're going to be able to make up ground later on?
Well, judging by the warm-up this morning when there was just about 1/4 second between the lot of them and Coulthard second fastest, it seems absolutely clear that they're running more fuel in the McLaren, certainly than Barrichello. Interestingly, Michael Schumacher second, Montoya third, Ralf Schumacher fourth. They're pretty much stable at the moment with regard to the gap. So this is the best squabble on the circuit right now. Heidfeld just hanging on to the shirt tails of Coulthard, and Häkkinen easing away now by some 2.8 seconds. But look at the heat haze behind the cars. That's 800 horsepower that's been dispensed with, and surging them down at well over 200 miles an hour before they hit the brakes into turn 1. Just literally tens of meters before the corner. It's a brilliant experience, let me tell you, when you experience that kind of power, that kind of energy.
But what about the others, I hear you cry? Well, Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar has moved up a couple of places from 14th at the start into 12th position. Jos Verstappen has done what we've seen him do so often in the past. You've heard from James. He's marched up from 20th on the grid in the fuel light arrows. He will certainly be on a 2-stop strategy to 13th on the grid. The BARs, which did so badly in qualifying, are doing a lot better in the race because Olivier Panis is 14th. And Jacques Villeneuve, the world champion of 1997, is down at 17th place. They're sandwiching Frentzen and Bernoldi in 15th and 16th places. And there is only one retirement so far, and we're on lap 17 out of 73 now. And that's Kimi Räikkönen, who you saw with the wing problem, with somebody trod on it, and he is out on the 15th lap, and we're on lap 16 now. And coming towards us again, the McLaren and the Sauber, Coulthard and Heidfeld. This is the battle on the circuit, because there's 9 seconds between Barrichello and Schumacher. There's nearly 4 seconds between Michael Schumacher and Montoya. There's 1.5 seconds between Montoya and Ralf Schumacher, the 2 Williams BMWs. Mika Häkkinen, I don't know if he's dispirited or if he just can't bring any more performance out of the McLaren, but he's 17, nearly 18 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello now. He's still in the points, and David Coulthard is 20 seconds behind Barrichello.
Yeah, but not looking good for Coulthard's second place in the championship, is it?
It is.
Barrichello leading in a 10-point position at the moment. Coulthard with just 1 point if the race would have finished now, and also Ralf Schumacher in 4th place ahead of him too. So Coulthard second place in the championship, and McLaren second place in the Constructors' Championship, looking pretty much under pressure.
I'm just trying to work it out while you were talking. 7 points the Williams team is on at the moment, and they started this race 8 points behind McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. But on the other hand, Häkkinen and Coulthard have got 3 World Championship points between them. So McLaren are still in the lead in the Constructors' Championship for 2nd place. Ferrari have won it, of course, as they did last year and as they did in 1999. And all alone on the circuit, Jarno Trulli there goes round and keeps marching. He is in 8th position. He's 7.5 seconds behind Heidfeld, and he is some 8 seconds now ahead of his teammate Jean Alesi. So Jean Alesi, as I said before and I'll say again, in his 200th Grand Prix, has come up from 9th position on the grid. He dropped back and he's back in the 9th position where he started now. But if both the Jordans can keep going, I still think it's unlikely that all the cars in front of them are going to finish. They're in with a shout for some points. We're on lap 19, it's a 73-lap race, there's a long way to go. In terms of temperature, it's continuing to creep up. It's 27 degrees, and I say again, the hotter it is, the better the Michelin tyres like it.
200 then written clearly on the side of Alesi's Jordan. I started over 150 of these, but when I walked down the grid, I can't remember any of them, and it seems like it was somebody else's life. It really is a strange feeling when it's all over, and I wonder if Jean will be experiencing that, but he's got so much enthusiasm for Formula One. Will he keep that Jordan seat? What do you think, Murray?
I suspect, sadly, he won't keep the Jordan seat. There are all sorts of rumours about other people taking his place. One of the rumours is that Fernando Alonso is going to move from Minardi to Jordan, and I emphasise these are rumours. It would be very sad if Alesi, who is the oldest driver in the race as well as the one with the most Grand Prix under his belt, retired. He's much loved, wonderful personality. He'll fire off a burst of invective at people, lose his temper briefly, and then smile, throw his arms around you, and you'll all be friends again. Now we're with Montoya as he comes into the start and finish straight at some 200 miles an hour. And he's speeding up, is Montoya. He is gaining on Michael Schumacher. It's only 2.2 seconds now between the 3rd car that you're riding with and the 2nd car, which is that Scarlet Ferrari now, just going round turn 4 into turn 5. And that is Rubens Barrichello leading the race. So now look back. It's a 10-second gap. You're not going to, if they stay with him, and they are staying with him, with the heat haze pouring out of the back of the car, because the exhaust pipes, 5 cylinders on each side, exit through the top of the bodywork there, just in front of the rear wing. And that is to enable as much clean air to get at the rear wing as possible, to help the aerodynamics, to force the tyres down onto the ground. More rubber on the track means more grip. More grip means more power transmitted. More power transmitted means more speed. Barrichello has won 1 Grand Prix in his career, the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim last year. He desperately wants to win another. He's going the right way about it now, but he's still only 12 seconds ahead of Montoya. He needs a lot more lead to retain it when he comes in.
Yes, he deserved to win in Monza, in my view. Obviously, a fuel rig problem there cost him the Italian Grand Prix just 2 weekends ago. But I think he's just been given the hurry-up to make his strategy work. Barrichello is not far enough ahead, as you rightly say. You're getting good at this commentary game, Murray. And Barrichello really has got to get on it some more, because suddenly the 2 Williams are coming into the zone. They've driven a very sensible, very mature early stages of the Grand Prix. They've had lower tyres on them, more used tyres to stop the blistering. They don't care about the total wear rate, they want to stop the blistering. So, Barrichello leads by 10.9 seconds now from Michael Schumacher. Juan Pablo Montoya is 3rd, Ralf Schumacher 4th, Häkkinen 5th, and Coulthard 6th.
Well, it's only the second time we have been to Indianapolis. Last year, the race conditions were overcast. Rubens Barrichello is continuing to pour on the power. 1 minute 14.767. That is 6/100ths of a second slower than last year's fastest lap, David Coulthard in the McLaren that year. So they're averaging, I tell you, something like 125 miles an hour for the first 21 laps of this 73-lap race. As Martin says, it's getting mighty interesting because Montoya is closing down on Michael Schumacher. The gap, which just a few moments ago was 2.2 seconds, is now 1.7 seconds. And you can see that Ralf Schumacher in the background isn't so far behind either. And what is more, he is speeding up too, because he's just done the fastest first sector of this 3-sector circuit. Ferrari leads on Bridgestone, Ferrari second on Bridgestone, Williams BMW third on Michelin, Williams BMW fourth on Michelin, fifth is Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard, McLaren, Bridgestone. Hello, what's happening here on this replay? It's Heinz-Harald Frentzen cutting across the front of Olivier Panis in the BAR, and he is now in 14th position. So Frentzen has moved up. And Ralf Schumacher is flying. Look at him. Look how much he's closed up. Look how much he's closed up on Montoya in front of him. The room, it's all coming alive at Indianapolis. Lap 23, 50 laps to go. Rubens Barrichello has had the hurry up sign because he's on a 2-stop strategy and he has not got enough lead to be able to retain it when he comes in. He needs a 30-second gap. He's only got a 13-second gap. Michael Schumacher is still second, and you're watching the battle now as Michael Schumacher, in his new style helmet incidentally, is being pursued and caught by Juan Pablo Montoya and by Ralf Schumacher, his brother. So, second, Schumacher, Michael. Third, Montoya, Williams. Fourth, Ralf Schumacher in the yellow-topped helmet in the Williams BMW. And the Williams team are getting ready. They're getting up now. They're going to come out. This is at lap 24. It looks as though they're getting ready to bring one of the Williams in for a tyre stop and refuel. As you look at Alex Young in the background, pursued by Thomas Enger, and being caught to be lapped on lap 24 by Rubens Barrichello.
Well, I tell you, if Williams are coming in for a stop, there'll be an enormous sigh of relief from the Ferrari team, because Williams were definitely putting an attack into place, but it seems as if they are also light on fuel. So the Williams has not had the ultimate pace that we thought they were having, and they're one of them, and therefore I'm sure both of them will be making a 2-stopper now, and the Ferrari pit wall will be mighty happy about that. We think it's Ralf Schumacher, the second of the two Williams, coming in this time, makes a late lunge for the pit lane. There's the speed limit line already. So it's a long, long way, and that's why a pit stop here takes so much time, and it really does compromise you on a 2-stopper. James Allen will take it.
I tell you, Martin, if this is a scheduled stop, they're nowhere, absolutely nowhere. We should have been much, much faster in the first stint. Really worn Michelin tyres coming off. They're really very worried about the heat building up in the casing of the rear tyres. That's the problem here today, and that's the problem with the left rear tyre. Now it's on the car. Ralf rejoins, but I don't think Williams are in it today, Martin.
No, and they, as you said, left rear, they had to change the gun. The man on the left rear had to change guns for some reason, and a very slow pit stop for Ralf then.
He came in fourth, and he's going to go through, come out 10th, because Montoya's gone through, so has Hakkinen and Coulthard. Heidfeld is now up into 6th. Trulli is up into 7th. Ralf Schumacher got out just about at the same time as Jean Alesi. I didn't see whether he was in front of or behind the Jordan, but anyway, we're now with Juan Pablo Montoya. Is he going to have to stop and come in, as has Ralf Schumacher? Montoya is third, that's Michael Schumacher ahead of him. The gap is only 0.8 of a second now, and he's carved it down from 2.2 seconds. Lap 26 out of 53, so round about one third distance. And you can see the Ferrari is actually visibly getting bigger in Montoya's sights, and he closes right up on Michael Schumacher.
And that's an important point. Barrichello up front by 12.5 seconds. Has Michael as rear gunner for him today. And I think Michael will be very happy to help Rubens win that Grand Prix. Rubens appears to have enough speed by himself. And look how much Montoya had to correct the car through a relatively simple stage of the lap. And then it's quite clear then they're really struggling to get the back end to stick on that Williams, and it's been pretty much the case all through free practice and qualifying. We've seen Montoya pointing the wrong way down the racetrack on at least 3 occasions as they've struggled to hook the rear up.
Oh, closing right up. This is race 16 out of 17. Just the Japanese Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. But 10 races ago in Austria, race 6, Rubens Barrichello moved over and let Michael Schumacher through from third to second in order to get World Championship points as the team leader. And Michael said, "Thank you, Rubens, I will remember that." Now, maybe this is the time for him to remember.
Not in the pit lane this time, so at least 2 more laps, 3 more laps of fuel then that Montoya was carrying over Ralf. So how far can he go? I'd be amazed if he can one stop, because that means Ralf was having a terrible afternoon. So surely Montoya will be in anytime soon.
And you never know with Michael Schumacher. He's got such a wise old head on his comparatively young 32-year-old shoulders. But there is an answer. The Ferrari mechanics in their overalls, helmets, are out in the pit lane. They are allowed to come out. They have to come out on the lap that the car is coming in. So there's going to be a Ferrari stop at the end of this lap, which is lap 27 out of 73. Rubens Barrichello leading by 12.5 seconds. Montoya right behind Michael.
Well, of course, we've had Barrichello pegged as a 2-stopper from the very early stages of this Grand Prix, and there then into the pits is such a high angle, it's difficult to see which one it was. It's Barrichello.
With this, it is Barrichello, but with this Michael's new helmet, it's terribly difficult. James.
Yes, well, bear in mind, guys, that Rubens has now to make 1 more stop than the others. In other words, he needs extra 30 seconds out of his race, which the others don't need to lose. So in both of the first 2 stints, he needed a 16-second lead at least. He's clearly going to lose the lead this time. It's the second stop. It's his exit from the second stop that's the critical part. And I don't really know if he'd done enough work in that first stint. Only 12.5 seconds lead. It's very, very marginal. 2 stops here, not that much faster. Very bold by Rubens. Can he make it pay?
Go, Rubens. You're not going fast enough. Michael Schumacher now leads. There is Rubens Barrichello. Michael Schumacher leads. Montoya is up into second, but Hakkinen is up into third. Rubens Barrichello scrambled out of the pit lane just in front of David Coulthard. He was in 4th place, so he's lost 3 places. Is the Ferrari strategy falling flat on its face? We'll have to wait and see. This is lap 28.
The key to this race is how far can these 2 cars go before they make a pit stop. Michael and Montoya, then Michael Schumacher from Montoya by 0.8 of a second. This then is the scrap for the lead now after Barrichello's expected relatively early stop. Ralf Schumacher is down in 8th place after that stop of his, that slow stop. And as I said earlier on, I think the McLarens are going to the race is going to come back to the McLarens as they go through the afternoon. They're now 3rd and 5th. They're sandwiching the Ferrari of Barrichello, who's regained the race.
And the leaders, here they are. Michael Schumacher with Montoya tucked up behind him are closing up on Thomas Enga from the Czech Republic in the frost to lap him. Now, if Enga gets in the way, this is where things could change. So Michael will be watching his mirrors to see what Montoya does. He will be watching the front to see where he can get past Thomas Enga. There is the Czech. He looks in his mirrors. He moves over. Good bit of driving, Thomas. Well done. It's only his 2nd Grand Prix. Bang goes Schumacher past him. Bang goes Montoya past him. Here coming towards us is Mika Häkkinen in third place, 11 seconds behind the race leader. David Coulthard is 4 seconds behind him. There he is in the red Ferrari. In the background is Rubens Barrichello, 5th place. Go for it, Rubens.
Well, that's interesting. Rubens' last lap, a 1:18.8, so he must have made a mistake somewhere because Coulthard has leapfrogged him up into 4th place. What was the problem, or what is the problem with Rubens Barrichello? A very slow lap.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure, Martin, to be absolutely honest, that Rubens had got out in front of David, so maybe it was the reverse and David just scrambled past him at the pit stop. But whatever, you're absolutely right. Rubens Barrichello is now in 5th position, and there is Montoya. You're looking at the battle for the lead now on lap 30, and we're getting closer and closer to half distance. How time flies when you're enjoying yourself, and this is terrific. The temperature, just for the record, is now 30 degrees. It's going up, up, up. Better and better and better for the Michelins. But remember, already we've had stops, and Rubens Barrichello is now down in 5th place as a result of that stop. Now, you know what the situation is for the first 6 with Jarno Trulli up there. I'll give you the rest quickly because I know you're interested in more cars than the ones in the top 6 point scoring places. It's Jorna Lacey who's 7th in the Jordan. Ralf Schumacher down to 8th position after his stop. Nick Heidfeld is 9th and Button is in 10th position, which is where he started. Giancarlo Fisichella is 11th, he started 12th. Eddie Irvine is 12th and he started 14th. Jos Verstappen is 13th and he started 20th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Prost is 14th ahead of Olivier Panis. 16th is Binoldi. Jacques Villeneuve is still down in the dumps at 17th place ahead of De La Rosa. Alonso is 19th, Enger is 20th and has been lapped. Alex Young is 21st, Kimi Raikkonen has retired. 21 still running on lap 31 out of 73. And you look down on the 2 lead cars of Michael Schumacher in the Scarlet Ferrari. 4 times a world champion and would-be world champion Juan Pablo Montoya, who of course has won at Indianapolis in the past, but not in a Grand Prix. He won the fabled Indy 500 and was car champion of the year, of course. This brilliant Colombian, and look, he's gaining visibly on Michael Schumacher on the twisties there as he exits the double 90 at turn 10, accelerates up to turn 11. And this is where the BMW grunt should help, because although that Paolo Martinelli designed engine in the Ferrari has got a lot of power, the BMW has got even more. The gap on the previous lap was 0.7 of a second. They crossed the line to complete 31 laps and it's 0.6 of a second. And Häkkinen is 11 seconds behind them. We ride with Montoya.
And that's what it feels like to be 2nd place in a Grand Prix, on the edge of your seat then, and let's chase down Michael Schumacher to see if we can snatch the lead. And look, Montoya having a bundle of opposite lock to keep the car on the racetrack, collected it up nicely, and look how much time he lost just with that simple, necessary correction. Montoya, what a brilliant race he's driving this afternoon. Had much more fuel on board than his teammate Ralf Schumacher, and still making it work out there. So Michael Schumacher and Montoya really now putting on the show up the front. But the McLarens then, 3rd and 4th now, about 10 to 14 seconds behind the pair of them. So they're staying just about. Look at this then. This is Montoya in turn 3, and really had to turn into that slide as you would on the road in your road car, even just turn in and keep the car pointing in the right direction, but you edge out under the dirty stuff.
I don't get too many slides like that in my road car, Martin.
You're a very sensible chap, Murray.
32 laps then. That means that there are 40 laps still to go. And with Montoya trying to make up for that slight loss of time on the previous lap. And they're carving their way through the field now. It is Fernando Alonso from Spain who is the next to be passed in the Minardi. He qualified as superb 17th here. The Minardi team has got great promise for next year because it's got the Asia Tech engine, and Paul Stoddart, the boss, was telling me that he's got hopefully a fairly healthy budget from all sorts of sources next year. Things looking good for this Italian team that has struggled so hard in the past. So there is Rubens Barrichello. Now the gap between Barrichello and Michael Schumacher, 5th and 1st, is 19.3 seconds, and Montoya is pushing again. The first sector, 23.1 seconds. Nobody has been through it. And look, there it is. We look down on the Montoya is visibly closing now on Michael Schumacher. And it gives you a chance to look at the crowd in the packed grandstand in the background, and particularly the ones they're coming to.
Well, he's just about in the zone for a toe, and you'll see Montoya just gradually moving towards the back of that Ferrari as they move towards the first corner. He had a lot of work to do, but look how much he's made up, and he takes the lead.
Fantastic! And the crowd roars! They love that! And that's his dad in the background with the beard. Boy, is this Grand Prix racing with a capital G and a capital P. Juan Pablo Montoya, who first led a Grand Prix in Brazil by putting a sensational move on Michael Schumacher, has done exactly the same thing here at Indianapolis. Hot dog! It's terrific. Look at him go. And he's so calm when he's out of the car. He's so relaxed. But when he gets in it, he is a tiger. And he's pulling away now. Now, they have passed Young to lap him. And there are the Colombian flags in the crowd, giving it plenty. Not that he can see them. He's rather concentrating on what he's got to do now is 26-year-old Juan Pablo Montoya, who comes from Bogota.
And Michael really losing a lot on this lap. Didn't expect him to be falling so far behind. Montoya then, the last of the late breakers. He really did get in that slipstream. I'd love to see a replay of that, please, Mr. American producer. It was a great move, and didn't he make it stick when he got to the end? Very, very brave, and that's the beauty of the run down to the first corner. It's so wide, you can't cover your line, you can't defend the line. Somebody wants to have a go at you, they can get past you. And Montoya then pulled out a 1.2 second lead on that lap alone.
Fingers crossed for Montoya and for Williams and for BMW, because he blew an engine in a very big way in the warm-up this morning. Bang, it went, and the session had to be stopped because there was so much lubricant on the circuit it had to be cleared up, and a few bits of shrapnel as well, bits of broken metal from the engine. But this one seems to be going well. 35 laps now, just being completed, and that is just one lap off half distance in the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis. A great race. The crowd is genuinely enthralled. I can see thousands of them out of my commentary box window.
And where was Michael Schumacher in that picture? That's Heidfeld, who's on a two-stopper. He's dropped down to 8, falling away from the McLarens, of course, with that, and that's why I think he was staying so close earlier on, although he has been fast through the weekend. And Montoya then, a new lap record, a 1:14.448, and Montoya really stepping on it now. He's got a new lease of life. He's leading the US Grand Prix with a brilliant move. He's 2.3 seconds ahead now, and Juan Pablo really getting on it.
Lap 36, race order. Montoya leads, Schumacher, Michael second, Häkkinen third. 12 seconds between them for those, the first and third. David Coulthard is fourth, Barrichello is fifth, Jarno Trulli, Jordan is sixth. Jordan Lacey is seventh, Nick Heidfeld is eighth. Ralph Schumacher is ninth, and out come the Williams team, and to complete the 10, it is Jenson Button in the Benetton, ahead of Fisichella. So, now let's wait and see Juan Pablo Montoya come in from the lead in the Williams to change tyres, take on fuel, and this is going to be a crucial stop.
So turn 11 then, he'll go up high into 12, and then he'll sweep down at the last possible moment into the pit lane. There it is, and look for the white speed line. There it is now. He's on the limiter, 120 kilometres per hour. Look how slow that feels compared to those cars going around on the banking. And now the pit lane proper coming up, and we're hopefully going to go all the way in. No, we're not. To follow him right into the box. Will they have any problems with fitting the tyres? It all appears to be going well at the moment. The hands are up in the air. My wheel is fitted, that says, and he's just waiting for the fuel now. Watch the lollipop. It says put it in first gear. He's already in gear, and away he goes. So a reasonable stop. I wonder why it didn't look like 13 seconds, did it?
No, but Schumacher is back in the lead again. Schumacher, Michael. Hakkinen is now up to second for the first time in this race, a 10-second gap between them. The second McLaren, David Coulthard, is up into third place as you look at Eddie Irvine's Jaguar being pursued by race leader Michael Schumacher to lap the Irishman. Rubens Barrichello is fourth, so it's Ferrari, McLaren, McLaren, Ferrari. Montoya came out in fifth place ahead of Jarno Trulli, and that's the point scorers. And Jordan Lacey in the second Jordan is seventh, so the two Jordans are sixth and seventh.
And those clouds of black smoke are from the brakes. They're 28 millimetres thick when they start the race, and they will be significantly thinner. You can't believe the amount of material that comes off them every time they hit the brakes. And remember, that's just one corner of the lap, albeit the hardest braking corner. You can't believe they survive the distance, but indeed they do, of course. So now Michael Schumacher, and that's Ralph off the racetrack.
Ralph Schumacher out of the race then. Rear wheel spinning. It looks as though he's beached it. The under tray is resting on the ground. He can't get any purchase. He's getting out of the car. Ralph Schumacher retires from the American Grand Prix. It's his 7th retirement of the year. No points for him. No points for BMW either, or for Williams, and he's very sensibly getting out of the danger zone as quickly as we can as he looks at this replay. Now, where that happened was the approach to turn 6, that's the double 90. I suppose it doesn't matter to Ralph where it happened. It happened that Ferrari mechanics are out, and that is for Michael Schumacher, who now leads Mika Hakkinen by 8.3 seconds, because Mika is speeding up. He's closed the gap between himself and his traditional rival, Michael Schumacher. So definitely only one Williams. If that is going to finish the race, it's going to be Montoya if he keeps going. And we're watching now the Ferrari as he goes through to start another lap.
Yeah, Michael didn't pit, so who is this for then? Can it be for Barrichello again already? So Michael then, onto his 39th lap now. He has not stopped. Second, Hakkinen, 8.2 seconds adrift. He has not stopped, and nor has Coulthard, your current third place man. So, it was hide and seek at the beginning. Barrichello's gone through as well, so quite why the Ferrari mechanics are all in the pit lane. We'll have to wait and see. Michael obviously deciding he didn't want to go in that lap. Sometimes you can run out of fuel if you do that. You can go one too many laps, but for whatever reason then, neither Ferrari calling in when the team looked ready for them.
Well, it looks as though something very odd is happening between McLaren and Ferrari. Maybe James Allen knows the answer.
Yeah,
Montoya! Stop it! James, sorry! Montoya slowing! Montoya stopping! It looks as though both Williams BMWs are out of the race. Yes! This is lap 39. Schumacher out, Montoya out. Finito!
And remember, that's exactly where he stopped this morning when he blew up, Murray. And they had to put the red flags out. They had to stop the session as Michael Schumacher pits from the lead. So Schumacher in this time around. And Montoya stopped there this morning, and it's very difficult to recover a car from that position on the racetrack. It's the pit wall. There's no way through there. So I wonder how they'll handle the stricken car. Double waved yellows at the moment, of course. Then Hakkinen goes through. He is temporarily the leader, of course. Michael rejoining. Seemed a reasonably long stop again, didn't it? So not seeing good stops this afternoon. Hakkinen then leads the Grand Prix. Remember, the man who started this race very, very angry because they moved him back on the grid for a indiscretion this morning in the warm-up. They applied it to yesterday's qualifying position. And Montoya is right near the pit exit. Can they clear his car out of the way, or will they decide to just leave it there? That's a tough call for Charlie Whiting and Herbie Blash, the two race directors who have got to make those crucial calls. And Coulthard then, second place at the moment, 4.2 down on teammate Hakkinen.
Lap 40, 33 to go. Hakkinen leads, Coulthard second, McLaren. Rubens Barrichello up to third, and Michael Schumacher has been in and made his pit stop. This is Rubens, and the gap between himself and David Coulthard is some 5 seconds as Alex Young moves over and lets him through. Nearly stopped, it looked to me. Oh, he's coming into the pit lane. So who's been in? Well, Rubens Barrichello's been in, Michael Schumacher has been in, Nick Heidfeld, who is now in 6th position, has been in, and it's looking very promising, and you can see people around the car. They're going to move it.
They've managed to get it across the pit lane. They've done well. They've wheeled it, got it across the pit lane. Obviously no oil leaking out of it as it had this morning in the warm-up when it flew up. So they have managed to clear the car of Montoya. Good news, so we don't need a safety car.
And that solved the problem about second in the Constructors' Championship at the moment, because both McLarens are still running in the points. First and second, that'll do, thank you very much. And both Williams are out of the race. First of all, Ralf Schumacher, and then Montoya.
This is crucial for Häkkinen then, of course. He takes the lead of the race. They're obviously running more fuel than anybody else. They've played the waiting game, but look at the traffic he's having to put up with. I think McLaren probably will bring him in sooner rather than later, otherwise he's going to lose that advantage, but he's not pitting this time around. He'll easily clear the Jaguar by the end of the straight, but he's still got 2 more medium-fast cars to get past on the next lap.
It's De La Rosa, he's past De La Rosa now. The next one is Jacques Villeneuve in the VAR, who is running in 12th position, and then it's Jean Alesi. And here is the Ferrari bearing down on us, Rubens Barrichello, and there's no doubt at all about the fact that the McLarens will have lost time threading their way through the traffic, but only for a short while, because then it's going to be Rubens Barrichello's problem. He's got to get past the traffic that they will already have cleared. Lap 42 now, 31 to go.
Well, remember, Barrichello is 2 stopping. He is currently 11 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, who will not stop again. That is a Minardi, that's Alex Young, still coasting around. We saw him coast into the pit lane. He's obviously gone back out for another attempt, still got the problems. So I think Barrichello is not looking that great. He's only 11 ahead of Michael, and he's got to make another pit stop. So the McLarens are looking strong. When they pit, will they manage to get out in front of this Ferrari of Michael Schumacher? He's lapping on a 1:15.5 at the moment. Coulthard on a 1:14.9. It's Coulthard on the move now.
Well, Ross Brawn, the technical director at Ferrari, is reckoned to be the guru of race strategies. It may well be that McLaren are outthinking him in this race, because on lap 43 there is Mika Häkkinen, and he's got ahead of Jean Alesi to lap the French Sicilian, who is in 10th place. Lap 43, race order, Häkkinen, Coulthard, Montoya walks in, 3rd is Barrichello, 4th is Ralf Schumacher, and of course both the Ferraris have stopped, neither of the McLarens have stopped. Heidfeld is up to 5th, Irvine is up into 6th position in the Jaguar, 7th is Frentzen, 8th is Trulli, 9th is Panis, 10th is Jean Alesi. Out come the McLaren mechanics carrying the tyres.
I wonder if it'll be for Coulthard, who's tucked up in traffic, or will it be first for Häkkinen? Häkkinen, as he was ahead on the grid under the McLaren arrangement, has the choice of when he wants to pit. So I would imagine he would go longer, and indeed he has. Häkkinen goes through. Coulthard then pits. It saves him taking that traffic. Now it's going to be crucial. Will they be anywhere near Michael Schumacher when they come out? Can Coulthard get out anywhere in front of Schumacher? Because that'll put Häkkinen in good shape too. It's going to be close.
It is indeed. And so here is David Coulthard sitting in the McLaren. Well, they kept the clock running a lot longer than they could have done. I think there it was about 9.5 seconds, and there is the Ferrari. And here, coming down the pit lane towards us now, is the 2nd.
I think that's an Arrows, Murray. I think you'll find that's an Arrows that's passing down. It's orange rather than the scarlet. So which of the Ferraris was it from that high shot? Because we know that Barrichello was 11 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and that's De La Rosa and Panis, and Villeneuve, who'd been threatening to get together as the leaders came through, obviously having a tangle down there at turns 9 and 10.
Yeah, dreadful race for Jacques Villeneuve. He's in 10th position. He hasn't been in yet, and lots of others have. And here is the Jaguar trying to get through on the inside. Pedro de la Rosa clipping Jacques Villeneuve, who, to be fair, has not been backwards about doing that sort of thing to others in the past. and there's a reversal of positions here. Jack Villeneuve coming in from now 12th position in the BAR. The weather continues to be superb. The track temperature still remains at about 30 degrees. All calm in the Ferrari garage on lap 44 with in this 73 lap race, and that is Mika Häkkinen leading the American Grand Prix. Now, this multiple winner and this double world champion, who's already got 19 victories behind him this in his career, has only won once this year, and that, of course, was the British Grand Prix, a superb drive for him. He's had so many problems, has Mika Häkkinen, including 8 failures to finish.
Yes, so the Ferrari we saw in the long shot was Michael Schumacher. He is 7 seconds ahead of David Coulthard. They're 3rd and 4th. The significance of that is that Barrichello, Schumacher and Coulthard have all now pitted. Barrichello has to pit again. Häkkinen then has not pitted. There's himself and Eddie Irvine, your current 6th place man. The only 2, actually Delarode, both Jaguars then, have yet to pit along with your leader, Mika Häkkinen.
And this is lap 46, so the Jaguars are really staying out. The last stop we had last year was lap 53, Rubens Barrichello. He'd been in earlier on lap 6, of course, to change from the wrong kind of tyres that he was on to the right ones, but he didn't take on any fuel at that juncture. So they can still stay out quite a long time. These Grand Prix cars these days cannot do a full race distance of about 190 miles. It's 190 miles here at Indianapolis on just 1 tank of fuel. They've got to stop somewhere, but the trick often is, if you get the strategy right, to leave it very late indeed, as we are. And here we are. Here are the black overalled McLaren mechanics getting ready to bring one of their men in. I remind you that Mika Häkkinen is leading the race, that David Coulthard is in 4th place. They are sandwiching the 2 Ferraris of Barrichello and Michael Schumacher as in comes race leader, Mika Häkkinen, James Allen.
It's been a fabulous performance by Häkkinen in his last 2 or 3 laps. He's taken 3 seconds out of Michael Schumacher. He needed 31 to rejoin in front of the German. He's got just about that. It's down to the McLaren mechanics now. Can they get these tyres and the fuel in there really in double quick time and get him out in front for another race victory? Schumacher, well, it's pretty nip and tuck. It's going to be very close.
Well, Rubens Barrichello is leading, I can tell you that, on lap 47. There he is, he has gone through. Rubens Barrichello from Sao Paulo, Brazil, leads. Mika Häkkinen exits the pit lane.
I think Häkkinen is ahead. I saw Schumacher go past the window. Häkkinen should have got up to speed. Yes, he has. So Mika Häkkinen then, we believe he is ahead of Michael, showing 2nd at the moment. Of course, it's Barrichello on his 2-stopper that now retakes the lead of this Grand Prix. But I think the real fight for the ultimate winner is between Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher. 2nd and 3rd, David Coulthard, just 4 seconds away from them too.
So, if the gloves weren't off before, and they were, they are now, and we're leaving, but we're coming back. But quickly, it's Barrichello, Häkkinen, Schumacher, Coulthard, Nick Heidfeld, Eddie Irvine. Mika Häkkinen being well and truly bottled up here by the Benetton and the Prost together of Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Jenson Button. And Frentzen is still ahead as Mika Häkkinen sweeps out of turn 13 to complete another lap, dives out of the Prost slipstream, gets past Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but does not get past Jenson Button.
Yeah, Frentzen made that as hard as he possibly could for race leader Häkkinen there, and certainly all those little 1/2 and 3/4 seconds you lose here and there, they're all going to count in this Grand Prix. It's too close to call at this time.
Yeah, but there have been people here saying, oh, Mika Häkkinen's lost his motivation now. He's announced that he's taking a 1-year sabbatical at the end of this season. We don't think we're going to see him back at all. That's what they've been saying. Well, he doesn't seem to have lost much motivation in this race as far as I can see. because he's really flying. And here is David Coulthard in the McLaren. So it is Ferrari leading, Barrichello. It is McLaren second, Hakkinen. It's Michael Schumacher third ahead of David Coulthard. And there is the race leader. It's Nick Heidfeld yet again in the points for Sauber, and he has been there so many times this season because he's had a third, he's had fourth, he's had sixth places. Terrific performance by the Sauber team. Eddie Irvine, who has yet to stop. There's only two people who haven't stopped, and they're both Jaguars, and that is Eddie Irvine and Pedro de la Rosa. Irvine is in sixth place.
Villeneuve out of the race then. We saw him pit straight after that tangle with De La Rosa, so maybe some suspension damage for Jacques Villeneuve to complete a miserable weekend. Fourth place man then, David Coulthard, lapping slightly quicker than Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen ahead of him.
Well, if this isn't heightening America's interest in Formula One Grand Prix racing, nothing will, because it's great action at Indianapolis. Lap 49 out of 73. Rubens Barrichello leads Mika Hakkinen by 21 seconds, but of course we're pretty sure the Brazilian has still got to make another stop.
Well, he has got to make another stop, but what's playing into Barrichello's hands is A, he's lapping very quickly and hauling himself back into contention, because B, Schumacher, Michael that is, of course, and Hakkinen and Coulthard have engaged a lot of traffic. They're really having some very slow laps. And Barrichello's lead now up to 22 seconds. We know he needs the best part of half a minute. So if he can just keep this kind of pace up, he may just bring himself back into contention, but I still think it'll end up being between Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher for the win.
And Mika Hakkinen has got the loud pedal well and truly welded to the bulkhead. He has now increased his lead over Michael Schumacher in third place to 6 seconds. Louise Goodman.
With Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan Pablo, that was a fabulous race while it lasted. Sadly, though, it didn't last long enough.
No, it's a bit disappointing. You know, we could have got a win here. It would be my second Formula One win, and back-to-back here would be brilliant. And you know, it didn't happen, but I'm glad we made a good show for Moore in his last race.
Fabulous move you made on Michael. Was it fun?
Yeah, it was really good fun. You know, I did enjoy it, and I was just going for it completely.
Thanks, Juan Pablo.
In comes Rubens Barrichello, race leader. He led by 22 seconds at the end of the previous lap. Is it enough? Will Hakkinen get through before Rubens Barrichello comes out? I'm trying to do two things at the same time. Watch the monitor and watch the track. There is Hakkinen! There is Hakkinen! And Rubens Barrichello is not, I think, going to get out in time. It looks to me, yes! Yes! Mika Hakkinen takes the lead and Michael Schumacher comes through, and he's going to be ahead of Rubens Barrichello too. So the Brazilian with that second fuel stop has gone down from first to third. There they are, absolutely together, and he's kept second place.
Yeah, that's important for Barrichello, so now he's got to try and hunt down the McLaren. And I don't see Michael giving him any problems. Michael wants him to finish second in the World Championship and get a clean, absolute clean sweep for Ferrari, 1 and 2 in the drivers, and of course Constructors' Championship as well, which they've already won. So now it's down to Barrichello to chase down Hakkinen. Coulthard is just out of the picture, 3.5 seconds behind them, behind the second Ferrari there, so it hasn't worked out so well for him. It's looking great for Hakkinen, the man who said, I'm fed up with this sport, they've taken me off the front row of the grid, I'm going to take a sabbatical. And look at the speed he's put on this afternoon. It's been a smart strategy from McLaren, very, very good, and that's enabled them to lead this race.
Well, as an Englishman, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, because although he has yet to come in, he's now 24 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli, who's in 6th position in the Jordan. And there is the Jaguar. Now, it could well be that Irvine can get out in time to clear the circuit and retain that. Oh, he won't. It's De La Rosa for a start. And that was not good. It looked to me as though he had some sort of a problem. He's down in 13th position, incidentally. And just to keep you clear, as you see, Alex Young walking in from retirement. Eddie Irvine is yet to come in. Retirements, incidentally, in order of retirement. Kimi Raikkonen is out. Alonso is out in the Minardi. Ralf Schumacher, of course, in the Williams BMW. Alex Yoong, you've just seen retire. Montoya is out. Verstappen is out. Villeneuve has now retired. There are 15 of the 22 starters left, of whom the last is Thomas Enger. Everybody up to 6th position has been lapped, and that includes 7th place Nick Heidfeld. We're on lap 52 with Mika Häkkinen, who has stopped once, leading Rubens Barrichello, who has stopped twice and will not be stopping again, 6 seconds behind him. Michael Schumacher is closing on his teammate, Michael in 3rd position, as we look at Eddie Irvine still out in the Jaguar, and this is lap 53. Surely he can't stay out much longer.
Barrichello took 3/4 of a second out of Häkkinen's lead on the last lap, so it's down to 5.4 seconds. I can see the Jaguar mechanics in the pit lane, so Eddie Irvine will be the final man this afternoon to make a pit stop, and there it is. So Irvine out of 6th place. We think he's going to drop down at least 2 positions with that, and it'll be nip and tuck between himself and John Alesi, I think, for 7th place when he emerges, assuming he has no problems.
Well, I'm trying to watch the track as I watch Eddie Irvine come in to see for the flash of yellow, which will be Jarno Trulli's. John, there it is! Trulli goes through. Eddie Irvine has lost a point at the present moment. How's the stop going? It's nice and clean. Out he goes, 7.8 seconds. Not a lot of fuel gone in, of course. And there is David Coulthard.
And Heidfeld went through as well, so I think Eddie Irvine will be 7th when he rejoins the racetrack.
There's not going to be a lot in it between the two of them, and we're on lap 53 now, so there's 20 laps to go. 20 laps each of 2.6 miles, and the Benetton leading the Prost into the top straight.
So another 4/10 then lap time around. Barrichello the lead down to just 5 seconds now. He's making a charge on Häkkinen. He's got plenty of laps to do it. If he moves along at that kind of pace, Barrichello can haul himself up to give himself a chance of winning his 2nd Grand Prix. So Rubens then really getting on it now. Can Mika Häkkinen respond? Michael Schumacher's cruising in 3rd really, and Coulthard keeping a watching brief too in 4th. It now seems like it's down to Häkkinen and Barrichello.
With Jenson Button in the light blue Benetton in 10th position, staving off Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Prost, and behind Frentzen is Olivier Panis in the BR. 10th, 11th and 12th. De La Rosa is 13th. Benoldi, we haven't mentioned, in the Arrows is still running. He's in 14th place. His teammate Jos Verstappen has retired. Thomas Enger in the 2nd Prost, that is Frentzen, is 15th and last, and we're now on lap 54. And Rubens Barrichello now. Häkkinen has gone through. He's on his 55th lap. The gap between himself and Barrichello has come down again, 4.6 seconds. So Barrichello is lapping about just under half a second faster than Häkkinen at the present moment. Now that means he would need about 10 laps to close with Häkkinen, which would take us up to round about lap 65 with 8 laps to go. It's getting very exciting here at Indianapolis. So, just 4 cars now on the same lap, lap 55. They are, of course, the race leaders, the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens, the traditional foes in terms of constructors, and Häkkinen, Barrichello, Schumacher and Coulthard, the traditional foes in terms of drivers. Jarno Trulli, I tell a lie, Jarno Trulli and 1 or 2 others are coming through on the same lap now. Trulli is still in 5th position, and the Italian must, to the extent that he can, be keeping his fingers crossed, because he's so often done well, very well indeed, in qualifying, only to retire from a strong position during the race. Trulli's had a 4th place this year, but he's had 7 retirements, and he was excluded from the Austrian Grand Prix, and he's going to Benetton next year. He's only got 1 race with the Jordan team after this one, and that is at Suzuka in Japan in 2 weeks' time. And we look now at Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar. You've just seen him. You've just seen he's made a stop, and he's up with Nick Heidfeld. So this is the battle for the last point. Eddie Irvine has already scored points for Jaguar with them, and he's through! Yes! Well done, Eddie Irvine. He's up into 6th position now. That means to say that he's on a World Championship point to add to the points that he got at Monaco for a quite superb 3rd position.
Clever move then from Irvine. He set Heidfeld up at the previous corner, and Heidfeld moving to defend his line, slow on the exit, and Eddie just pounced into turn 11. A nice move, clever move there. So a well-earned World Championship point, providing he can complete the next 18 laps.
Remember what I told you, it's all getting very exciting at Indianapolis. Here is how exciting. Mika Häkkinen leads a rapidly closing Rubens Barrichello. The gap is down to 3.4 seconds, with just 5.4 seconds between Barrichello and Schumacher. Eddie Irvine's already had 4 World Championship points at Monaco for a magnificent 3rd position. Jaguar have been working so hard under Niki Lauda and everybody else to get the car right, particularly for next year. They're not developing the car anymore this year because they're concentrating on the 2002 car. But if they get points in this race, it's going to be a tremendous fillip for them as the Ferrari closes up and dives through on the inside. Louise, news.
Well, as we suspected, the tyres, particularly the rear tyres, are taking a pounding in this race. The manufacturers are actually putting black masking tape around the tyres to cover up the blisters. Now, I just caught a peek at the rear tyres as they came off Eddie Irvine's car. To say that they are worn is a serious understatement. More interestingly, though, the FIA came to have a look at the rear tyres coming off Eddie Irvine's car. Now, we'll wait to see whether there are any further developments on that, but I certainly hope not, for Eddie's sake.
And Häkkinen has responded. Last time around, he managed to cut the deficit to just 1/10 of a second. But look, Barrichello still marching along. And we know this track, Murray. If Barrichello, who's about 2 kilometres an hour faster down the pit straight, he's doing about 340 to 338 clicks for Häkkinen. But with the slipstream and with the ability to brake late and wide into turn 1, if Rubens can get up to the rear wing of that McLaren, he will surely pass it. The gap then, 3.3 seconds, although Mika is about 1/10 up with the first 2 sectors combined on this lap. Häkkinen responding. He would love to win this race, wouldn't he?
Indeed he would. Let's quickly add to what Louise was saying. What the FIA may be checking on Eddie Irvine's tyres is whether they have worn down so much that the grooves have disappeared and they could be judged to be slick tyres, which are illegal. It would be a first if that had happened, and let us hope that that is most certainly not the case. Because with Mika Häkkinen being caught by Rubens Barrichello, and the gap, as Martin has just said, is down to 3.2 seconds, Michael Schumacher still in 3rd position. It's McLaren leading the 2 Ferraris. David Coulthard, who has been in the points every time he has finished this year. He's had 4 failures to finish, but in every other race he's got points, including 2 superb victories in Brazil and Austria. He's in 4th position. And Jarno Trulli is 5th. Jordan, that's good news for Jordan. Eddie Irvine, magnificent news for Jaguar if he can stay where he is. And he's actually pulling away from Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber. The gap is now 2.5 seconds. Jordan Lacey, in the veteran, is in 8th place in the Jordan, ahead of Fisichella and Button, who are 9th and 10th, with 16 seconds between them. Then it's Frentzen 11th, Panis 12th, De La Rosa, Bernoldi and Enger. 15 runners out of the 22 starters. And here comes Mika Häkkinen. And look how Rubens Barrichello is closing. 3 seconds.
Yes, it's about 1/10 a lap now, so 14 laps to go, there's still time, and there's Coulthard then. He's beginning to edge up on Michael Schumacher, so one Ferrari catching the leader, and fourth place man Coulthard catching third place man Michael. We could see a storming end to this US Grand Prix. Certainly, it's too close to call at the moment.
Good race for a lot of people, not a good race for Michelin, of course. Both the Williams BMWs out. The top Michelin runner at the moment is the man that you are looking at, which is Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar in 6th position, chasing Jarno Trulli. He's catching him at the rate of about 0.4 of a second a lap. But even as I speak, Jarno Trulli speeds up a bit and maintains the gap between himself and Eddie Irvine at some 13 seconds. Colossal pressure on everybody. The temperature now on the track is about 29 degrees. It's gone up again. These engines are tremendously stressed. They're doing some 18,000 RPM on the straight. So we will be back, but it's Häkkinen, Barrichello, Schumacher, Coulthard, Trulli and Irvine with 13 laps to go. Rubinho, as he's called in Brazil, is really pushing. 29 years old, very experienced now. 145 Grand Prix is his tally. He's driven for Jordan, he's driven for Stewart. He got the second best seat in the world with Ferrari. The best seat, of course, is the one that Michael Schumacher has got. And Rubinho, who's had a terrific season, because he's had 5 second places, he's had 5 third places, he's had 2 fifth places. He's only failed to finish 3 times, and he is, when this race started, he was 3 points behind David Coulthard in the World Championship in the battle for second place. And now, on a potential 6 points, he's 4 points ahead of David Coulthard in this race. So if they stay where they are, the second place in the championship will change and Barrichello will take it as Mika Häkkinen dives through on the inside of the Jordan.
Gap down to 2.2. That was a poor lap for Häkkinen, and it wasn't involving the Jordan either because it was after the start-finish line, so generally lost a lot of time that time around, Mika Häkkinen, but he managed to clear a Lacey without really incurring any further loss, and Barrichello now must lap a Lacey, but normally Jean is very well mannered in these situations.
Yeah, and well, let's hope that he sees the Scarlet Ferrari in his wing mirrors and does the decent thing and moves over to yield to Rubens and be lapped. We're soon going to know the answer as we look at Michael Schumacher. He's got the stars and stripes on his helmet in deference and paying homage to the American nation. Lap 60, lap 62, 11 to the end, and we are with you all the way to the conclusion of the American Grand Prix. Bit of debris on the track there as Bernaldi hits it well and truly. It looked like a bit of carbon fibre. Let's hope that a shard has not penetrated one of his tyres. As you watch the continuing battle between Jenson Button and Heinz-Harald Frentzen for 10th place, which Button has got at the moment. But it's Barrichello that's making the news at the present moment. Häkkinen, lap 63, is now 2.8 seconds ahead of Barrichello. He's increased his advantage.
Yes, Barrichello had to lap John Lacey last time around, lost half a second. That carbon fibre looked British Racing Green to me, a piece off a Jaguar, I don't know, but could come into play. There's a lot of shards of carbon fibre on the pit straight when the cars are doing 200 miles an hour and the tyres are massively loaded. So let's hope they do not pick up a puncture. But at the moment then, Häkkinen is just able to keep his nose ahead from the closing Barrichello, and lots of debris all over the place, isn't there? Coulthard still just edging towards Michael Schumacher as well, the third placeman. There then is the gap to the leaders, and again Häkkinen a tenth faster last time around.
Well, it's Pedro de la Rosa's Jaguar. You were absolutely right, Martin. Jolly well spotted. That's lost a bit of bodywork, which was hit by Bernaldi's arrows. You can't change direction very rapidly when you're doing about 205 miles an hour in that very slippery arrows, which incidentally is going to have a Cosworth engine next year and is rumoured to be having Heinz-Harald Frentzen as one of its drivers. We'll have to wait and see. That is the lap. Jean Alesi in 8th position.
John Alesi's finished every Grand Prix this year, be it in the Prost and, of course, now the Jordan. So Alesi with a supreme finishing record. And that then is the scrap for the final podium position of Schumacher and Coulthard. 2.2 seconds between them. Coulthard occasionally nibbling a half a second out of that, and occasionally it's nip and tuck. But David then just beginning to get a sniff of that podium. He needs every point he can to try to defend his second in the World Championship. But this is looking very solid this afternoon for McLaren to confirm second in the Constructors.
Oh, indeed,
and that may not seem much to you, but with BMW honing in on the Mercedes engine McLaren, I think it'd be a big thing in the car industry and certainly for the Germans.
Yeah, and they need a bit of encouragement because it's been a very bad season as far as McLaren are concerned. Any other team, of course, would give their eye teeth to have done what McLaren have done this year. But for Ron Dennis, Martin Whitmarsh, Adrian Newey and everybody else at the working team, only wins will do. Well, they might be having another win here today. They've got a wonderful record, McLaren, in America. This is the 9th circuit that the American Grand Prix has been held on. So many of them: Riverside, Las Vegas, Long Beach, Dallas, Detroit, Indiana, and this is by far the most important. We're on lap 65 now in the 73-lap race. Mika Häkkinen seems to have consolidated his advantage because the gap to Rubens Barrichello has now increased by another 1/10 of a second to 3 seconds. There, that was the McLaren. Here is the Ferrari. So there's 3 seconds between the two of them. It may be a bit more as they complete this lap. I'll tell you in just a moment. Well, you can see for yourself. No, Barrichello has taken 2/10 out of his lead. Now there's about the same gap between Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard for 3rd position. Just 2 seconds because David Coulthard is closing on Michael Schumacher as Barrichello is closing on Mika Häkkinen. Great stuff.
Who do you want to win, Murray? I'd like to see either of them win, really. Häkkinen because he's departing Formula One, at least for a sabbatical, maybe even full retirement. But Barrichello deserves to win this race too, because I think he's driven the best race of the afternoon, no doubt about it. Driver of the day is Rubens Barrichello.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him win this, but maybe a dead heat would be nice between the pair of them. But he's going to have to get his skates on because Häkkinen seems able to respond to the pressure.
They all deserve to win, but Rubino's my man, since you ask. He's such a nice bloke. He's just got one Grand Prix victory behind him. Michael Schumacher has got 52 of them. Mika Häkkinen has got 19 of them. David Coulthard has got 11 of them. So they've had their share, you can say. Rubino, who, as I said earlier on, has come up through the Jordan team and then Jackie Stewart's team, which is now Jaguar, into Ferrari. And he's such a nice bloke and he richly deserves the reward. And if he wins this race, it would be in meritorious circumstances, as was his first victory at Hockenheim in Germany last year, when he started 18th on the grid in wet conditions and just fought his way through from 18th to 1st. A brilliant, brilliant drive. This is lap 67. Everybody is on tenterhooks. The gap between Häkkinen that you're watching now in the Mercedes-Benz powered, Bridgestone tired McLaren and Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari with its Bridgestone tyres is 2.8 seconds. There's the Indianapolis golf course. Would you believe it? The super speedway at Indianapolis not only contains a Grand Prix circuit, which is actually slightly longer than the super speedway. You may find that strange, but it's true. But it also includes a very nifty golf course and some wonderful accommodation down there in the middle that you're looking at, including the fabled gasoline alley and the Hall of Fame, which contains cars and memorabilia from the great Indianapolis drives of the past and all of the great Rudolf Caracciola pre-war Mercedes-Benz driver superstars trophies. It's a wonderful place to visit. And we're now on lap 68.
All of the first four then are in the pit straight at the same time. Just wish they were a little bit closer so we can see a bit of ducking and diving into that first corner. But Hakkinen then once again just a half a tenth faster than Barrichello that time around, so he's managing to control the gap, and supreme effort from him this afternoon.
And don't worry folks in England, don't worry folks at Browns Lane Coventry, don't worry folks in Ireland, your man Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar is still in the points position. 6th place, 1 point, not a lot, but only 6 people are going to score points in this race, and it's fingers crossed for Eddie Irvine being one of them. His boss of bosses, Jack Nasser, the boss of the entire Ford Corporation, is here. I had a quick word with him this morning. He's rooting for Jaguar, and it looks as though his presence has brought a bit of luck to the team. And Pedro de la Rosa, the other Jaguar driver, the Spaniard from Barcelona, is down in 13th place. Reading.
A sick-sounding red car just went past our window. I think Barrichello's car sounds sick. Doesn't sound like a full complement of 10 Ferrari cylinders, and indeed he was slow. Barrichello, I think, is about to drop out of this Grand Prix.
Drama of dramas. There's going to be a lot of disappointed people here because there are a lot of Ferrari fans. And yes, Martin, you're right. 2 suspicious puffs of smoke from the back. He's driving a terminally sick car, I think. And the Ferrari mechanics looking worriedly at the monitors. Well, they might, as Michael Schumacher closes up now, gaining on his teammate. It looks as though it's going to be a famous victory for Mika Hakkinen, and how richly he deserves it. But well, it's getting worse and worse. That smoke is getting thicker and thicker. Let's hope he's not dropping any oil on the circuit on the fast line. But Rubens has clearly had it. Oh, that's it, bang, bang, out goes Rubens Barrichello. Or does he?
Well, he should have. He should have gone in the pit lane with that one. This is pointless with 4 laps to go. It's pointless because it's going to let go and drop its contents all over the racetrack if he's not careful. So Rubens electing through total frustration, I would imagine, not to go in the pit lane, but it's game over, Rubens. You're not going to win this one, and you're not going to be on the podium.
No, and he spun off in the warm-up this morning and had to take a golf buggy back to the start. He's had a pretty fraught day. Rotten luck, because he obviously feels he can keep it going. The Ferrari people can see what's happening on television screens just as you can. And maybe they know from the telemetry that it's not as sick as it looks and sounds to Martin and I. He's still in 2nd place. Mika Hakkinen is now on lap 70, and he's got a commanding lead now of 9 seconds. It's looking more and more like another win for the Flying Finn. It would be his 20th.
Normally, I think Michael would defend him and would not pass him to keep the maximum points for Rubens, but with Coulthard there, who's been sort of menacing all afternoon for Michael Schumacher, all Schumacher can do is try and slow Coulthard down at this point, because Rubens has no defences, and Michael can't really help him. Look, he's going to have to just pass him. It's so slow, and look, podium position is about to disappear in the next few 100 metres. Nothing, no point in defending your line. That's not smart, Rubens. Frustration, come on, you've driven brilliantly this afternoon. You've deserved to win the last 2 Grand Prix that we've had, but that's not smart to be diving around when you've got a sick motor car.
Well, he's certainly holding David Coulthard up and allowing Michael Schumacher to sprint away in now 2nd place for 6 World Championship points. He's had 4 of those places already this year, and it looks as though Michael Schumacher's World Championship score is going to be even higher at the end of this race than we thought it was. Mika Hakkinen is now on lap 71 for McLaren and Mercedes.
Coulthard will be well unimpressed with that, because it's just his homing in on Michael Schumacher for what would have been, or what will be now 2nd place, has all but evaporated because he's been held up badly behind the sick Ferrari.
No blue flags waving that I can see, however, so officialdom is not taking exception to what Rubens Barrichello is doing. And David Coulthard, I just saw a flash of the McLaren getting past there, and unless I'm very much mistaken, and no, I am not very much mistaken, because there is Coulthard in front of Barrichello as the Jordan unlaps itself. Lap 72, race order very quickly in the closing stages. Hakkinen, Schumacher, Coulthard, Barrichello. Trulli is 5th, and he may finish in 4th position. Irvine is still in that 6th place. Tony George, the boss of Indianapolis, is down there on the start and finish line to see the end of what has been a great race in America.
Okay, it looks like it must be some kind of fueling problem or just one cylinder out. So Barrichello, I mean, actually I'm wrong and he's right, because he may as well carry on. He's 38 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli and managing to lap within about 5 seconds of the pace, so he may just actually stay in 4th. It's clearly not a mechanical failure down there. It's no, there it is. It's gone.
There he is. Out goes Barrichello. His engine's seized up from the look of it. Look at those black rubber marks on the track where everything locked up and the rear wheels ceased to revolve, and Rubino has at least got it off the racing line and is out of the track. So now up into 4th position goes Jarno Trulli. Can he get the Jordan home? This is a replay of Barrichello staying out. Up into 5th position with another World Championship point goes Eddie Irvine. And up into 6th position for yet another Sauber World Championship point in the year 2001 goes Nick Heidfeld. And Mika Hakkinen, the flying Finn from Helsinki, is on his last lap. Looking magnificently good for his 20th World Championship win. 10 World Championship points to lift the Finn ahead of Montoya, who has retired to a 5th position in the World Championship. That won't please Mika particularly, but another win when he's had so many problems this year is going to be great for this quiet, popular Finn, who is now entering turn 13. This is the last corner of the last lap, and Mika Hakkinen takes the checkered flag to win the American Grand Prix. A superlatively good victory. And is he pleased? Yes, indeed. He clap, clap, clap. Well done, Mika. And there's Rubens sitting disconsolately with his back to the pit wall. And Mika even stops the car. He's so pleased with himself.
Yes, his 20th Grand Prix victory. Well earned. We said at the beginning, would he use that anger and frustration at losing a line on the grid in a positive way, or would he trip over somebody through anger into the first corner? Well, we now know the answer. So a stirring victory for Mika Hakkinen. Schumacher then 2nd. Coulthard just 9/10 down in the end for 3rd place over the line, and a great win.
Oh, well, Ron Dennis permitting himself a smile as he shakes the hand of Wolfgang Schattling, who is in charge of the public relations side of Mercedes-Benz. 2 very happy men, because as Martin said earlier on, Mercedes-Benz have had a bit of a roughing up from BMW this season, unexpectedly. They've come good after a very rough patch at this last but one race of the year to win the American Grand Prix in front of the largest Formula One Grand Prix crowd we have had this season. And as I said earlier on, America is essential if the World Championship is to be a true World Championship, and anything that can happen to heighten their interest would be great. Well, it couldn't have been much more interesting than it has been this year. There you can see the results, and the red B's mean Bridgestone, so they've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Great result for Jordan, because they've had reliability problems this year. Great result for Jaguar, that 5th position for Eddie Irvine. An excellent result for Sauber with that 6th position. But John Lacey has maintained his unbroken record this year of finishing in every Grand Prix. Just 1 place out of the points. Both the Benettons have got home in the top 10, 8th and 9th, with Heinz Harald Frentzen 10th in the Prost. Well, appropriately, the race Mercedes-Benz closes up on Mika Häkkinen as he tours victoriously home to park the McLaren Mercedes-Benz in Parc Fermé as the winner. It's been, hello, has he run out of fuel, Martin?
Maybe he's going to try and do a few donuts and please the fans down there. Just going to do a burnout rather than a donut, but poor old Barrichello, he finished 15th and last. That is not fair, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. It is certainly a character-building race for him. Michael Schumacher gets those 6 World Championship points, and it means that David Coulthard's 2nd position in the World Championship has been consolidated. He started off 3 points ahead of Rubens Barrichello, and he's now 7 points ahead of the Brazilian. Mika Häkkinen has moved up to 5th position ahead of Montoya, and the order in the World Championship with 1 race to go as Ron Dennis congratulates Mika Häkkinen very, very much. Oh, it's not Ron Dennis, it's Steve Hallam. My apologies. Hello, what's the significance of that, Martin? What's he got?
Must be the cash, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think Bernie would let that get out of his sight. There's something significant about that black bag, but I don't know what it is.
Might be a flag in there or something, I would guesstimate. I really don't know.
Well, Mika, I've never seen him loosen his safety belts and sort of half stand up in the car before. He's clearly, obviously, and justifiably delighted. It's been a great, great drive.
And I've never seen him so angry as he was after the warm-up when they docked him a line on the grid. He was so angry. Michael then, with a solid workmanlike afternoon, a bit like Monza, really. I think Michael's got his 4th championship, and he's pretty much coasting through to the end of the year.
Norbert Haug, the boss of Mercedes-Benz competitions department, in the black bomber jacket. David Coulthard, I suppose, I mean, David will say, I'm quite sure at the end of the race, well, I started 7th and I finished 3rd, that's not too bad. And if anybody was going to win this race other than him, he obviously would be more than happy that it's his teammate Mika Häkkinen. And you can see how happy Mika is. And the crowd loves a bit of showmanship, which is not usually Mika's bag, but he's shown today how pleased he is. And Ron Dennis is not the most extrovert of chaps on the right, but he's obviously more than happy. What's Herbie Blash in the glasses, been in Grand Prix racing solo. What an assembly there. David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, they will have to go in, and that's in the black cap. It's one of the great men of modern motor Grand Prix racing, Joe Ramirez, who's been with so many teams and is retiring at the end of this race.
Yes, he's not going to Japan, and well, like yourself, Murray, he's stopping at the end of the afternoon. Sure, I speak for many millions of people, tens of millions all around the world when I say to you, thank you so much for what you've done for Formula One over the decades.
And thank you, Martin. So that's 73 laps of Indianapolis completed. And the crowd came here not really knowing what there was. Last year there was a big novelty element in people coming to Indianapolis. They hadn't seen Formula One here before. They didn't know what was going to happen. We had a crowd of, I think, about 240,000 people. Some of them thought, a lot of them thought it was absolutely fabulous. Some of them will not have, being used to their own kind of champ car racing on the super speedway. But it's been a mega crowd today, and surely what they have seen will satisfy them. Ferrari still very much the constructors' champion, of course, but McLaren with that 1st and 3rd places have added 14 World Championship points to extend their lead over Williams, second place in the World Championship for McLaren Constructors. It's now 22 points. Sauber is still fourth, but Jordan, to their enormous delight as a result of those points that Trulli has scored, have leapfrogged BAR up into fifth position in the Constructors' Championship. And since they're both vying for Honda engines next year, it's going to be a very happy and I'm sure an enormously relieved Eddie Jordan. So now the podium ceremony for the first three. The winner, Mika Häkkinen. The second place man, Michael Schumacher. We haven't said all that much about Michael Schumacher in this race, but what a record he's got. 8 wins this year. Now 5 second places. He's only failed to finish twice. That is Tony George, the boss of Indianapolis, and he must surely be very, very pleased. The crowd will melt away from this circuit very quickly, but first of all they are going to see, acknowledge and pay homage to the greats of this race. And Mari Holman George of the great Holman family that made Indianapolis what it is going to give Mika his winning driver's award. The finish, national anthem. For Mika and Finland. This is for Britain and McLaren, the winning constructors at Indianapolis. No worries, as they say in Australia. No worries in America. It's been a great and unblemished day under blue skies at a fabulous location, and especially for Mika Häkkinen. Murray Holman George gives him that magnificent Indianapolis trophy. What a wonderful addition to his bulging trophy cabinet at home in Helsinki. And the winning constructors trophy is presented, rightly so, to Ron Dennis by Wolfgang Kengner, who is the president and the CEO of SAP, who sponsored the meeting. So trophies all round. Michael Schumacher is next, and it's Bart Peterson, who is the mayor of Indianapolis, that he receives it from. Dan Cotter, the chairman of ACUS, is going to give the trophy to David Coulthard, third position. So Ferrari second place, McLaren first and third. David looking slightly less than overwhelmed as he receives his trophy, and down there you can see that there's a very happy crowd. And now, as ever, at Indianapolis though, it's champagne time.
Congratulations, gentlemen, on a truly exciting American Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen first, Michael Schumacher second, and David Coulthard third. Mika, that was a truly fantastic race. You started fourth and fought your way through to the front. You must be truly overjoyed. You certainly look it.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights of this season for me, definitely. And winning a British Grand Prix this year was for me something that I always wanted to in my book, basically, and Indianapolis was the other one, and this is it, you know. I'm absolutely still a bit confused, to be honest, to really experience what has happened today. Particularly because of this morning incident, what happened to me, damaged the race cars. So mechanics did the fantastic work to able to fix that. First of all, and second thing was I went through the red lights today. This morning in free practice, and the stewards decided to give me a penalty for that, and they dropped me to second row. I qualified second, so they put me in fourth position. So disappointing it was, obviously, and all that frustration what happened this morning, and to sitting here in the middle and winning Grand Prix, it's just flat out. You know, I don't know. You know, I'm just incredible. I'm very happy, pleased. I don't know the words to even say. You know.
Thank you very much, Mika. Michael, last year it was your day here at Indianapolis, but today it was Mika's. How did you feel about your race?
Well, pretty, I say, straightforward. Not many excitements except the one I had with Montoya. I don't know where he was coming from. I mean, I looked in the mirrors and he was quite far back when I left turn 11, and then I saw him coming flying at me down the straight. I tried to make it as difficult as possible, but obviously our tyres at this stage in the end of their life weren't as good as their tyres. I mean, he was all over me before that, and so he got me. Except that it was pretty boring. We were struggling a bit with traffic just before the pit stop time, and that was it. Mika, I think he won fair and square. I'm pretty happy for him because to some degree justice came probably into place after what happened to him this morning, and therefore I think today the results, at least I can live very well with that. I'm a bit disappointed obviously for Rubens, who could have been in second position today, but yeah, I think it's our first engine failure we have had this year, if I'm right, and in this perspective that's not too bad, but would have probably been better happening to me rather than to him.
Thank you very much, Michael. Over to David. Talking of that engine failure for Rubens Barrichello, you were chasing Michael very hard, and then as you came past Rubens at the end, you appeared to get a whole face full of oil. Did that add a little extra excitement to your closing laps, or no problem at all?
Yeah, obviously I was catching Michael a little bit, but I didn't expect that if I actually got on his rear wing it would be particularly easy to overtake. But nonetheless, I was just trying to push to the pace that I could in my car. And I think I've been very fortunate today. I've obviously benefited from other people's misfortune, allowed me to come back up into third place. Very happy for Mika. Before the race, he wasn't so sure of what his chances of winning were, and I told him I'm pretty confident he could win this race with the tyre situation. And then obviously with what happened to him earlier in the day, I think as Michael mentioned, it was justice to turn it around. And obviously it's helped me a little bit in the championship, the fact that Rubens dropped out. It's never nice to accept points that way, but I've had a lot of misfortune in my racing career, so you have to take the results as they come.
Thank you, David. Back to Mika. One more race before you spend a year on the beach or wherever you're choosing to spend it in 2002. What chance another win next time out in the final round at Suzuka, a circuit where you always seem to go very well?
Well, we have definitely something coming up in a pipeline in a factory, and we are confident that our performance of the car going to be better in Suzuka. Everybody's trying very hard, and like this weekend, I'm very impressed of the team, particularly the mechanics, what they have done. Like on Friday, they changed the engine in 35 minutes, which was incredible result, I thought. So that kind of things, you can see the team is extremely motivated. They want to win. The factory is working maximum performance at the moment, and they bring in new parts, new things for Suzuka. That way we can perform and to go quicker. So they are there. They are pushing really hard. I'm very happy, and so I go to Suzuka that way. I try to win, and we try to, with David and with the team, we try to get the maximum result, and that's it. And then hasta la vista.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, Mika and Michael.